looks like some people's cameras stayed on. So
Yeah, that's weird.
they say one thing will happen and another thing does. So we're back on the record after a break. It's here in the afternoon. And our next witness is Ms. Daskus. Ms. Cadwell, do you want to introduce Ms. Daskus?
Yep, I call Miss Daskus to the stand.
Good afternoon.
Before we start, I have to swear you in, Ms. Daskus. Do you swear or affirm under penalty or perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Great. Ms. Boscheman, do you have any questions for Ms. Daskus?
Sadly, yes, I do. No, I bring the seriousness along. I apologize, but yes, I do have some questions. Lighten up the topic here.
Quite all right.
So do I address you as Martha or Miss Daskus, which is
fine, whichever you're comfortable with. I'm fine.
Martha seems shorter in let's go for the conversation as much as we can again, as I was saying earlier. So I'd like to learn first a little bit about you and your background. So I was able to review your resume, which is very helpful. So can you talk to me about your work experience and your tenure overall? Sure. Yeah.
I've been in the renewable energy business since about 1992. For a company called Vermont Environmental Research Associates. It's a small consulting firm in Waterbury. In the beginning, I worked primarily on wind energy projects, wind resource assessment, environmental assessments, and project development. I led the management of 4 of the 5 utility wind projects in the state of Vermont, and another one over in Maine and in Massachusetts, or New Hampshire in Massachusetts, excuse me. In about, after the Georgia Mountain Wind Project, I went and worked for a solar company in 2013 and started really focused my efforts in the development arena on solar projects. And then have been doing that ever since. I've served on the Renewable Energy Board, a business trade association, since about 2003, and was chair for 3 years. I've testified before the state legislature and made presentations at regional conferences. I have solar on my roof. I primarily focused on the development, a site assessment and development of renewable energy sites, and take it up to construction. And now in this situation, Norwich Technologies hired me to do the aesthetic assessment and early development review and historic above ground resources assessment for the Canaan project.
Thank you. Can you tell me about the industry that you're in right now and the expertise that you bring to the table? Are you a limited resource in the state of Vermont for these types of assessment reports?
I think that there are a number of entities and organizations, and I'll be honest with you, I'm reaching retirement age.
Lucky
So
you.
I'm in that category where some people are no longer doing it. But there is a number of different entities and organizations and individuals that have that I've worked with actually in the past that served to conduct aesthetic assessments. I'm addressing just specifically the aesthetic assessment part, right?
Yeah, yes. And the reason I'm asking is I'm trying to understand the break and the relationship between your time. I'm sorry, I'm looking at exhibit PET-MS-1, which is your resume.
Yep.
Do I need to share
So
it?
I
share screen?
am not.
Okay.
Oh. Do you need to share that? Is that the question?
I didn't know
don't-
if I needed
don't
to
need see
upload it.
I-
Okay.
Okay. I left full-time employment at Norwich Technologies. I'm a new grandma for the first
Oh,
time.
awesome.
So, a grandma, and just wanted more of my own personal time. And it's a work-life balance decision that I made.
I understand. And so when did you leave Norwich for this wonderful adventure?
July 1st of 2025.
Okay. And the report you submitted was dated December 19th,
Correct. 2025.
same year.
2025. Yep.
So you left Norwich, you said July of 25, and you submitted the report in December of 25.
Yep.
How
Yes.
long a period of time does it take for you to write that report and do that assessment?
Well, the assessment requires review of publicly available data. It requires input from the client of their design and what they're looking to accomplish. It requires review of the town and regional plans. It requires on-site verification of the digital data that has been reviewed in terms of preparing the assessment. So total, I mean, it's probably a couple of weeks altogether.
Mm-hmm.
But in broken up pieces. I mean, I do a desktop analysis of the location and what the resources are. If there's scenic resources, historic resources that are in the region, in the area, and then another time, then I do GIS mapping work and look at.
And that would be
where-
what? GIS mapping work, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, geographic information systems. So it's taking the topography and the vegetation and actually the Agency of Natural Resources atlas data that's available, utility interconnection data. So I understand where the power line is. I'm sure I'm missing something. And that data is publicly available typically. And then, so I look at that geographically and start to see if there's, well, for example, a really good example is the Mount Monadnock fire tower. All right, in screening the publicly available data and actually the historic, or not the historic, the rest area over in New Hampshire. So those items pop up on mapping information. And so then I start to assess whether there could be an impact created from the project on those public resources. So does that help?
Yeah. So it sounds like the majority of your work is done remotely through accessible documents and not so much in person on the ground, walking visibly around the area.
Oh, well, I definitely spend, like, I think in this case, I spent 2 different times where I have to drive around and field verify different vantage points, like, you know, where the rest area is, for example. So that takes a whole day to understand what is there. I also wanted to verify the historic bridge that's up the road and structures that are up the road. That what kind of condition are they in? They're listed on the publicly available again with the Historic Preservation Division of Historic Preservation, but all this needs to be field confirmed.
And so was the site visit that we had in May the first time that you actually walked the field?
Oh no, it was about the third time.
Okay. And so if you left in July of 25 and you submitted a report that same year, at the end of the year, I would say it's safe to assume that you were connected to this particular project in a different context while employed at Norwich. Is that true?
I was working at Norwich when Jeff was managing the project. Yes.
Mm-hmm. In fact, were you also the representative that went to, it's a different project, but you were connected to the landowner and the site location for a larger array proposal that was at play with the town of Canaan? That would have been about a year prior, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm trying to understand the objectivity that you might approach, having been a client or a representative of the organization, dealing with this client as a business rapport with Norwich, and then being able to turn that off and be objective. It's almost like a non-disclosure that I'm kind of going down the path on of awareness and understanding. How can you turn that off?
Yeah. Let me try answering it this way. My experience, you asked me about my experience earlier, and my experience has been in developing renewable energy projects, and in particular in the more recent years, last 10 plus years, solar arrays. And so there is, and at Norwich, I was the chief development officer, quite frankly. And it's my responsibility it was my responsibility to determine whether a project should move forward and for what any number of characteristics or criteria that may preclude a project either being cited inappropriately, designed inappropriately, utility interconnection is not adequate, regulations are not accepting of a project. So I do bring that expertise with me. I can't get rid of it. And so in that assessment process, in the very early stages, if the review of the project would not meet the state criteria, whether it's Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, and I've worked in a number of states, if the project's not going to meet the regulatory criteria, then it's most likely not going to move forward. That's a decision to be made. In this case of Vermont, aesthetics is one of the criteria that needs to be considered. And so I think what you're getting at is, did I think this was an aesthetically acceptable location while I was employed at Norwich? And I would say, yes, I did.
Actually, I'm really trying to approach this in terms of an objective nature. So when my question was related to your time spent at Norwich and your direct connection to the landowners and the relationship and rapport and discussions around the desire to move forward with this project, and as a representative of Norwich, my question is in relation to, you had that capacity first, right? And the end point was the win-win for the landowner and the company of which you were employed to get to the finish line to have this project move forward.
Yeah.
And then you changed that capacity.
Well,
and that's where I'm
Is there a
concerned about
question?
and ask. My question is the standard of objectivity, being objective in taking that stance. I know from my own personal, right? I had an organizational change. I had a team of people and a body of work a year ago. And today, to this point, I still have a bias, a leaning of attention to that particular team and the bodies of work. I'm trying to bring that to this case. You were employed by the organization who's pushing forward this project, and now you're being hired as an outside agent.
Ms. Bushman, if I can interject real quick.
Yeah.
I understand what your concern is again. Could you just concisely state the question that you have for Ms. Daskis?
The question that I have is, how do you approach the objectivity of having multiple, And you're on both sides of the table, right? In this process.
Well, the job I have performed is to conduct an assessment based upon the statutory criteria and the rules in the net metering program as to whether this project would have an undue adverse impact on aesthetics based on Rule 5.100 and the Queechy test. So it either passes or it doesn't. My objectivity really isn't the question here. It's whether it meets the criteria for the, in this case, required screening, solar screening from the bylaws of the town, as well as the PUC Rule 5.100. And so my assessment steps through, as you've read my report, it steps through those questions and the criteria that it's supposed to address.
Is this a point, Mr. Kaczynski, or Kasicki, where I would present an objection to the objectivity of the individual writing this report from the lens that I'm trying to call out, that it's an undue bias. You can't help but have
Right.
some of that affinity.
I understand your concern. I can't tell you what to do, but I can say that it would not be inappropriate for you to lodge that objection right now in the middle
I
of the
am lodging
evidentiary
that
hearing.
objection.
That's generally what legal briefing is for.
I guess I would.
She heard you.
Yeah, I would respond that the opportunity to object to the admissibility of a witness's report or testimony was in the schedule. There was no objection to it. To the extent Ms. Boschman wants to make that argument, she can do that in legal brief. And Mr. Kasicki, you're on mute.
Oh, I have nothing more to say. That again, to your point, that this is all coming from the fact that the exhibit and the testimony has already been stipulated and it's in the record. So there's no objection to either of them actually being in the record at this point. So.
Okay, so if I have continued concerns, the point of doing that would be in the brief, is what you're explaining to me? Okay.
Again, I can't tell you what to do, but
Mm-hmm.
you think you're on the right track.
Thank you. Again, pro se. Trying to play within the rules, but I don't know all the rules, so I'm going to do my best. So in consideration that this report is submitted and your resume is submitted, obviously we're going to move forward with the rest of my questions, and I want to spend a good amount of time on the report, if I may. And I'm going to see if I can pull it up. I had it. I think the easiest way is going in here. Bear with me. Okay, so this is Exhibit PET-MS-2 page, well, the whole document. You're all seeing it. I have it up. Would you prefer I not share it, or does it matter?
No, I'm glad that you're showing it. It's helpful.
So I'm going to kind of go through a lot of these sections throughout the report to base my questions, if that's okay, Martha.
Yeah, happy to.
All right, so I am scrolling down. Sorry for the eyes, everyone. Trying to get to page 5. Does that help? Everybody's eyes? Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So actually, if I go backwards, talk to me about the Queechy analysis itself, the test, and the steps involved with that, please.
Sure. So, step one is to determine whether the project would have an adverse impact on aesthetics and the scenic and natural beauty of the area. Um, of an area because it would not be in harmony with its surroundings. And so if that answer is no, then it satisfies the criteria. But if it is yes, then you move on to the second step, which is, there you go, on that second page 5. And then, and in this case, the project did move on to step 2, in terms of an assessment as to whether any of those, whether the adverse impact is undue. And these are the 3 specific questions that under the Queechy test as prescribed in Rule 5.112 of the Public Utility Commission's rule, net metering rule, need to be addressed. And so those are the 3 questions, and then following that is addressing those 3 questions.
Okay. I don't want to stop you if you're done. That's okay. No, it's up to you.
Well, that's the process. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So
I'm curious about B. You know,
yeah.
who equals the average person, and where is that language located?
You're gonna hold on a second. It's cited in here. That's the second
Yeah, and
part.
this is one of those tricky things, right? That well, actually, it's not cited in. Oh, it's later on in your report. You're trying to find it somewhere else?
Yes, it's
Okay.
on page 13, where we talk about, it's in the step 2 of the 2-step process. This is the second question, is whether the project is shocking or offensive to the average person. And as stated there, the Public Utility Commission has used the Queechy test and has defined it as the average member of the viewing public who would see a particular project from the vantage point of the public and from an objective as opposed to subjective and neighborly perspective. Like you're probably, I would assume, I can't, this is not a question, but you're asking me questions, but your view, it would be subjective versus the public's objective.
Okay, I had a question on that. Bear with me here.
Sure. And I will just say that's the law. I mean, Jeff was talking earlier about meeting statutes. Well, in this case, this is the rule.
So that brings me to that, what you were reading, right? Right under step 2, the Queechy test in quotes, right? And we're in a position where I was uncomfortable not having had a lot of time to read the 80 pages that were submitted a couple days ago for the appendix. But if I look down and look at number 5, right? This is the citation of number 5.
Yeah, that's not in the appendix. I just want to clarify, the appendix were the regional NVDA regional plan and the Canaan town plan. These citations here refer to previous PUC, Public Utility Commission cases and their findings. Okay.
Okay.
So they wouldn't have been in the appendices.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
But they refer to another certificate of public good request,
Right.
another case that was requested, and the
Right.
language that those cases might have been using in their approach to get the approval. Is that right?
Wait, can you just say that again, please? I'm sorry.
So you're citing these 2 areas, the petition of Rutland, right?
Right.
Well, it's the same one, actually. So you're citing language that comes from this certificate of public good case, correct?
The order, yes. The Public Utility Commission reviewed the project and made a determination, and the text that's up above is part of the Public Utility Commission's order in their findings. Their order.
So are you saying that these statements in quotes are actual words that are coming directly from what the definition of the Queegee test is? Or are you
from the Public Utility Commission?
So you're able to take language from other assessments here versus what are the words on the actual Queegee test requirements?
Well, let's see. So the I can't speak for the Public Utility Commission, but my understanding is the Public Utility Commission has established that the Queegee test, this process that we talked about earlier, is what is used to assess the aesthetics of a proposal. And in previous cases that the Public Utility Commission has gone through a process like we're doing here, they have found this to be the case, or their findings, and they have put these comments in those orders. So in other words, the Public Utility Commission has defined the average person so that it helps to bring clarity as to who is an average person versus a subjective or an objective viewer. Does that answer your question?
Okay. And in the Queegee test, at what point does the resident, the abutter, come into the equation at all?
Well, it is considered, okay, and I think further down, I addressed that. Let me see where it is. So we're reaching well, first of all, the first paragraph that you have up there is we've defined what or who is an average person, and it's not it's an objective viewer versus a subjective viewer. And then the next step is to whether that view is shocking and offensive. And so they even go on to define what is shocking and offensive to a viewer. Well, as demonstrated in the modifications and the additional screening, there has been reasonable consideration given to the neighbors or abutters.
So who defines, I see the words, what you're talking about here, right?
Yep.
To reach a threshold of shocking or offensive, the size of scale of project would need to be overwhelming. That is what you're saying that the commission has defined as shocking or offensive.
Yeah.
Would you think that living in that neighborhood, a visitor coming to have a cookout at the abutter's home, that's not the resident, would you think that that would count as a population that would be part of the public?
Yeah. Yes, I should say.
Okay. Would you consider, I think later on in this report, you talk about driving at 50 miles an hour and the time, would you consider bicycle tours be considered part of
The public?
the public?
Yeah, yes, I should say.
Would you consider people walking down that road be considered
Yes.
part of the public? And
Yes.
for those three populations, it's not at 50 miles an hour.
Correct.
It's a much longer stead.
It's a state highway.
It is a state highway, but we're not talking about the highway. We're talking about the aesthetics of this site and whether it's shocking or offensive.
Okay.
And if we have those populations coming through, visiting for a cookout, walking from one end to the other, bicycle tour, would you interpret that someone might find that offensive if they're walking or biking or visiting a community that's known for its serene qualities, quiet, rural environments. Would that average person say, wow, that seems odd here? That's kind of offensive. It's too bad.
Yeah, I don't agree with that statement. I don't think that it is shocking or offensive. Solar arrays of this size are commonplace throughout Vermont, quite frankly. And you know, people understand what a solar array looks like. It's not a new technology, and they're on our working landscape across Vermont.
What do you see, what have you learned in your aesthetics report? I think you've documented it, but I'd like to ask you your interpretation of the economy in the Canaan area.
In the Northeast, in Canaan itself, or
Canaan,
it's a
Northeast.
Yeah, it's a rural economy. There's trades going on, agriculture, forestry, logging. Do you want me to describe the people? I'm not sure what you want me to describe.
I'm trying to understand from your perspective in your assessment, in your writing of your report, what is the employment impact? What is the employment? What is the financial stability for that region?
I'm going to object if she can point to someplace in the report where and maybe there is, I just not off the top of my head, where that's discussed. That's fair game. But if it's not, I'm going to ask her to move on.
Yeah, the aesthetic.
Ms. Bergman, do you have a response?
My response to that is in the course of this whole report and throughout this, it talks about aesthetics and the impact of the community, and the tourism is the part of the community, and the aesthetics of that with this out of ordinary facility from this area is not what tourist economy is looking for. They're coming to look at the serene and the fields and the crops, and
I understand.
they're not.
I understand. I'll overrule the objection. I'll allow the question to the extent that Ms. Daskus can answer.
Yeah, I would say this is an aesthetic assessment. It's not an economic assessment. So while I did review the regional plan, and it talks about supporting the local economy and the viability of farms and multiple land uses on farms to support farmers. I definitely looked at it from that economic perspective. I will say historically, with respect to tourism, I've been involved in it, and the Lowell Wind Project is in the Northeast Kingdom. The Lowell Wind Project provides wind tours. So it's what is the tourists that we're attracting here. And in this case, I don't see it as shocking and offensive for, I guess, bike tours is what you're getting at.
Bikers, walkers, visitors of the community coming through, all of them.
Yep.
So it sounds safe to say, receive your confirmation that the average person is not just driving at 50 miles an hour down that road.
Oh, no. And I don't think I said that, but no, it's not. You're right. I agree with you.
Okay. Apologies. I have computer glasses and then I need glasses to read, so I'm.
Oh, welcome to my world. I'm with you.
Let's see here. On page 6 of the report, I'm sorry for the eyes if I'm getting everyone a little stir crazy here. The bottom paragraph talks about farmstead properties. Um,
Wait a minute, where are you? Oh, there you
and
go.
home occupations, home occupation activities.
Yep.
What are those businesses that you're referring to? Do you recall?
Yeah, Luke's across the street. And
Mhm.
then I met him. The gentleman that purchased the land behind him, his automotive or motor activity is a tree farm. There's tree farms up the road. There's also I saw a sign for sharpening blades, saw blades. I didn't take a picture of it, but just down the road. Those are the local nearby businesses that are in the area.
Luke's surprising. I believe he's retired. I don't know that he does any more work, but it has the sign that says Luke's, so I can, you know, I can understand how you would see that as a business. Um, can beyond from Luke's, because it's really not an active business to my understanding. That's my awareness. Uh, how do these other businesses you're talking about differ in aesthetics compared to this particular site project?
They're not a solar array.
Are they more to the nature of the business, trees versus tree farms are part of the natural environment versus a solar panel not being part of the natural environment? Would you agree to that?
There we go. Ask a question. Thank you.
Um, well, it depends. It depends on, well, you're not going to agree with my perspective, but harvesting the sun and generating clean renewable energy is in some people's view a farming activity. So there are, how you define farming or how farming is defined and how activities that are in the area are regulated, well, quite frankly, by the town. I mean, that's why they have that's why this project went through the town preferred siting process to be sure that it was consistent with its town plan, and in this case, with specific screening criteria, solar screening
Okay.
criteria.
Okay. So I'd like to take that thought because I have many more questions in the report itself, but you're going down the path of the plans, right? So I'd like to be able to find those two plans. Bear with me.
You find them faster than I do. Honestly.
Exhibit zoning bylaws. Okay. So a lot of what you're describing in your report reflects back to the 2025 plan, town plan in Canaan. But in
Yep.
reality, right, the relationship that you had, can you confirm, please, the adventure of Norwich entering the community at all was for a different project, as you're claiming, for a larger project, a different 52-acre type of project in 2024, correct? Is that right? The adventure of entertaining a solar array, regardless of the size.
The
Actually,
landowner contacted Norwich Technologies. I honestly don't know how long ago. 20, what did you say, 2024?
yeah, I recall, I think you were the actual representative for Norwich that came to a town meeting to disclose and share, right? I think that
I
was in
was.
the late fall of 2024. And at that time, it was for the 50 some odd acre project.
Well, it wasn't 50 acres, but it was
It
for
was
a
for
3
the
megawatt,
majority of the field.
a
It was
3
for the
megawatt
major.
project. Yeah. But I was the representative that came to the select board and the planning commission meeting. It probably was around 2024. I don't remember when the landowner reached out to us, to Norwich.
Okay, that's okay. Um, bear with me. So at the time when that adventure began, it was under the 2017 town plan for that larger project. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, the town plan that this project is being reviewed under was adopted in March of 2025, and that's what this project was reviewed for.
Okay. But the entertaining of the landowner and Norwich began during the 2017 active plan for the town.
I would
And then,
expect so.
okay. And then along the journey, please confirm, as you think you just did, once the actual advance notice came into play and the report came into play, the formal application, that was under the what you're saying is adopted of a new 2025 plan,
March.
correct?
Yeah, March 2025. Right.
And when you say they approved this based on the laws, the screening laws, right? The letters of approval and the support from the town to identify this as a preferred site.
Yeah, I want to be careful of the terminology here. The
Okay.
town issued a letter designating the site as a preferred site under the Public Utility Commission's Rule 5.100 definitions for preferred siting. That's what they did. They did not, in fact, well, I'm sure you're going to pull them up. When you pull up the town those letters, you're gonna probably see that they don't say they support the project. They say that it meets the criteria for designating the site as preferred.
Okay, let me go.
That's why I just want to be sure.
Yep. We're using the right language. I get it.
Yeah, I don't want to
understand.
misrepresent what the town was doing.
Yep. Okay. Bear with me.
I'm going to just turn my fan on.
Getting hot in here.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, I don't seem to have in this, and that's going to be my bad. I have to own it. There were two letters that were submitted, correct? From the town and the
Yeah, I can
selectmen.
help you. I think it's Jeff's Exhibit 5 that has the preferred site letters.
Yeah, but where I'm fuzzy right now is that the town itself had two letters, and I'm not seeing that. You don't recall seeing a second letter from the town anywhere submitted in here. It's my problem.
I don't know if
You
it's
want-
part of the record. The letter
want
where
me
they
to-
asked for more screening.
There was one that they said that the town was, the neighborhood was very upset about it, and they were talking about the fairness of landowners, while also respecting the neighbors and their concerns that we could have a.
Can you show me
That's
the
what I'm saying.
document that you're referring
That's
to?
what I'm trying. I know I saw it here at one point, but my hands are not on it. Maybe at a break, if I have an opportunity, I can.
If it's not part of, I'm going to object to her using a document for cross-examination that wasn't filed and that
No, I
is
believe
not-
it was filed. That's why I'm looking for it. Yes.
Yeah, let me finish. That wasn't filed as a cross exhibit or isn't part of the evidence that was introduced today. I don't know what letter she's talking about. The preferred site letter doesn't say that, as far as I know.
Ms. Boschman, I will give you an opportunity to locate that letter and display it for us so we can understand what you're referring to before I rule on the objection. I'll give you a minute to do that.
Thank you. Oh. It is what it is. It's my bad. I will move on.
It's quite all right. I'll sustain the objection. Thanks.
Where were we? The town plans.
Hot.
So go ahead.
No, I just said I was hot. That's where I was.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's
I
see
need
here.
air.
Yep. Oh, I had it all up. So the basis of a lot of the report is that the rules were being followed from the town plan of 2025, right?
Correct. Yes.
And so what I wanted to show here, this is this is what I pulled down, and it's in the, oh, I almost hit leave. Can everyone see? This is the revised bylaw. So these are the towns, oh, here, let me do this. The laws from the town for the zoning board.
And just so we're clear for the record, this is Exhibit 3 you're looking at?
Yes. Okay.
Can you scroll down? Scroll down to the. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I'm looking at section 323.2. Can you confirm what I'm reading is what you're seeing here? Implement the 2017 Canaan Town Plan, specifically following goals and policy to preserve Canaan's rural settings, scenic views, and to support an agricultural-based economy. Is that correct? Are you seeing that too?
That's what it says. That's for the 2017 town plan.
Correct. But these are the zoning laws that are currently in effect, correct?
Right, but the 2017 town plan has been superseded by the 2025 town plan.
But the
Goals.
zoning, so what impact does this have for the current active zoning laws that specifically refer to the 2017 plan?
It's outdated.
So are we, it's kind of a semantics question. Like if we have a document that's supposedly a legal document that refers back to specific dates and specific pages, would this not, if this is an active, if the town plan changed in 2017 to 2025,
Changed
this,
in 2025. Yeah.
and this remains active, do they conflict with each other? Because this specific document is still active and it specifically guides the reader to follow the plan from 2017. If this was the case, right, that a new plan came in, would you see that this document would then refer back to the 2017 plan rules?
So I'm going to object for a couple reasons here. First of all, the section that she's pointing to is talking about the purpose of the section, and it's not actually the specific requirements, solar screening requirements. Those are down, and those are what are material. Second, the town plan that is operative for this project is the 2025 town plan. The zoning regulations clearly the zoning ordinance, irrespective of whatever town plan is in place, govern. And that's what the town's preferred site letter referred to. Ms. Staskis is not a lawyer. And I think it's unfair to ask Ms. Staskis about how a zoning ordinance, how to interpret a zoning ordinance that has an out-of-date reference to a plan. What her report talks about is how the project complies with the zoning ordinance, the specific requirements of the zoning ordinance to obscure the project's visibility, and whether there's any clearly written community standard in the operative town plan. She's not here as a legal expert.
Understood. Ms. Boschman, do you have a response?
I do actually. I clearly hear, Ms. Caldwell, all of the points that you're bringing out. But at the same time, if these are supposed to be the rules that we follow within the town of, and they're speaking to each other, these are valid statements and rules of engagement that are required, and it calls out the standards, as you say, in this document, right? But the standards are being implemented for the purpose of this section to implement the plan.
Yeah,
And
okay,
so-
I understand, but the thrust of it, I'm going to sustain the objection because you're asking a question that calls for a legal conclusion by Ms. Staskis. I would also note that you're asking Ms. Staskis to opine as to the legal import of the document. It's your exhibit. It's not an exhibit that Ms. Staskis has sponsored. So I'll stand the objection.
Could I make one sentence?
Sure.
I will say the November 10th, 2025 Canaan letter, preferred site designation letter, the last sentence says, however, we do certify that this project will meet the minimum screening requirements as set forth in the Town of Canaan zoning bylaw, Article 3, Section 323.
Which says to preserve Canaan's rural setting, scenic views, and support agricultural-based economy. Okay, is that right? Is that the section you're talking about?
I'm just reading the letter.
Yes.
I don't see that on your screen.
You referred to 323.2 as the reference that they provided?
Article 3, Section 323. They say that the project will meet the minimum screening requirements set forth in the article.
Right. So this is 323, all of it in its entirety, just different paragraphs, it looks like. Okay. I have all kinds of questions in here. We're kind of bouncing it based on where our journey goes in our conversation. So bear with me.
I understand.
Let's see here. Go back to your aesthetics report. Okay. So going back, just so we have the document that we're all referring to together, I'm back in this same paragraph. The residential property is 195 feet from the solar array, but it's not the only residential property, right? Because the way your sentence here, it refers to the west side has 2 businesses and a residential property.
Yeah, it's
that
the
correct?
nearest. It's the nearest.
Okay, so it's,
Yeah, I'm
can
not
you
trying to imply that it's the only residential property.
okay, I
or
just wanted
structure.
to clarify that, because when I read it, there's one residence, and I wanted to have that confirmation that indeed, did you recall seeing more than one residence on the stretch there
Oh,
of where the
yes,
parcel
but
is.
also, yeah, as well, the other businesses that I referred to earlier. So it's a combination. That's why it says scattered residential and farmstead properties or small business and home occupation activities.
But it also says then across the highway from the project are two businesses and a residential property.
Right.
There's more than the one, correct? Of
Right.
that. Okay. Because it's not just one house, correct? That would be impacted with this,
Well, immediately across the street is one house.
correct?
Yeah.
But right next to that house, either side, right? There are other properties that are going to be impacted by this, correct?
There are other residents on the western side of Route 102, correct?
Okay. And then later on, you talk it, and this is probably just the language, the writing communication style that you're using, and I want to confirm, for the record, what you're intending there. So you're saying historically used. When I hear the word historically means in past, they're still actively, you're confirming, can you confirm? They're still actively using that area for
Yes.
crop.
Yes.
Thank you.
When we were there, they had just planted the seed.
Yeah. And it was quite dusty because
Yeah,
we didn't have a lot of rain. And my poor mother at 87 was tuckered out, let me tell you. She was a trooper to walk the whole length of that thing and all the way back. So
for her.
she
Yes.
did all right.
She did great.
We talked about the cars and the bikes and all that. So it's longer than in here you're identifying approximately 6 seconds of impact here, right?
Based upon the speed limit.
So it would be much longer than 6 seconds if someone's walking, and much longer than 6 seconds if someone's riding the bike on the bike tour.
It would be longer. I'm not going to quantify it. It depends on how fast they're walking or how fast they're riding, or if they're on an e-bike or a regular bike.
Yep.
There's other factors that factor into it. But what is known is the posted state highway speed limit of 50 miles an hour. So that's what I commented on.
Okay. And then later on, just kind of, I'm picking at the words. It's the communication style. So travelers approaching from the south will experience longer duration views after passing several residences 1,000 or so feet from the array. But in actuality, the house that's 195 feet, all the other houses are closer than the 1,000 feet, correct?
This says travelers approaching from the south. So cars moving north on Route 102 will experience longer duration distant views of the array after they pass those houses that are 1,000 feet or more away. There's the houses that are south of the properties. They're about 1,000 plus feet away from where the array will be. Is that clear?
Sure. And so when you look at the site, right, the field, do I need to bring that site look back up? What is the distance, the furthest distance of all of the houses that are right there in that neighborhood? You call out the 195, obviously.
Those houses are on the west side of the road, okay? So we're not talking about the views on the west side of the road. We're talking about the views that would be on the east side of the road as you're traveling north. So travelers approaching from the south going north will get longer views, longer duration, distant views of the array after they've passed like the yellow house that's on the right, that's on the east side. Yep. Okay, that's what that sentence says.
So there are other houses. There's another house within where that yellow house is on that road.
On the west or on the east?
North, south. On the east.
Right.
There is more.
It says after passing several residences,
right, but we're talking about the
array.
Sure, but I'm talking about the proximity from 1,000 in. There is, we were identifying a yellow home, but there's another property that's even closer than the yellow home that's within the 1,000 feet, correct? It's hard by memory. I can pull up the
I'm trying
map.
to remember. Well, there's a tree line. Let's see. I don't remember that. Are you saying the blue house? Are you trying to refer to the blue house?
There's a
Yeah,
blue
that-
house right
Yeah.
here.
Right. So the distance from that drive, the tree, well, first of all, there's a tree line between the blue house and the, right there, yeah, that property line has
Mhm.
vegetation that is not, my understanding is that vegetation will remain. It's, whether it's on the farmer's land or on the neighbor's land, that's not being removed for the array. And so that helps break up the view. And then you have the houses that are further south. And I'm saying they will, travelers heading north, or if you could say here, it would be northwest. I'm assuming this plan is oriented north. It is. Travelers heading north into Canaan will have longer distant views of the array. I'm acknowledging that.
Yeah. So while we have this up, I was asking Mr. Martin about the vegetation plan here, right? You've got vegetation that you're proposing. I guess you're proposing, the company's proposing. Jeff was pointing to you for any questions on aesthetics.
Right.
So
I
I'm-
proposed it. I
Okay.
proposed it.
And so as we look at the screenage, it is an attempt to block the view 125, 95 feet.
It's not, I would not characterize it as blocking the view. I would characterizing it as mitigating the view.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so then we've got the road, the gravel road. We've got the temporary area, screening area for the materials for the build. And then we've got the proposed arrays right here. I do not see any vegetation, anything here to prevent the screenage. Can you speak to that as to why that's not accounted for there?
Because I did not feel that it was necessary, that it is not, it's a further view from neighboring and road public views. And the primary mitigation I felt that was necessary was along the western side, a small amount on the north corner up there. And then as you're approaching close to the array, where the access road is and the transformer.
Okay. Can you tell me how this area here, which is the screenage that you propose, helps to defray the view here?
I'm not trying to.
Why are you not trying to?
Because I don't believe that the view is shocking and offensive. Solar arrays are a common feature on the working Vermont landscape that is more distance away. I'm trying to mitigate the view from the neighboring properties across the street.
Mm-hmm. But aesthetics really has to do with blending in harmony with the environment, correct?
Scenic and natural beauty of the area. Yep. Yes.
Yeah. So if you have no screenage here, and whether a car is driving, walking, bicycling, or having a barbecue at the Marchessault Luke's property, there is nothing that will hide this view. Is that correct?
With respect to travelers on the road, I would ask you to think that also that the cone of vision for traveling along that road is more of a north-south orientation. It's not to your right or left. I'm not trying to,
north, south, right? This you
Is that-
said we were saying is
I'm calling Route
north,
102
west.
north-south.
uh-huh.
I'm trying to
Yes.
keep it a little simpler. The road is generally oriented in a north-south direction. Is that okay to say? Would you, I'm not asking the questions. Okay, I'll try it again. So the road, Route 102, State Highway Route 102 is oriented in this plan from a northwest, southeast orientation. And the cone of vision for a traveler, either north or northwest or southeast, is in parallel with the road. It's not perpendicular. And so if they will see the array. I've not proposed that the array be hidden. What is to minimize the aesthetic impact of the project, native species, zone 4 tolerant, quite frankly, have been proposed on as you see on this plan.
But you can confirm that someone having a cookout at this property, the Marchessaults.
I don't know what property you're talking. Oh, there's
Right.
your cursor.
Yep. Are you okay? I don't know how to make that cursor a color. Otherwise I would. So someone here at this property.
Where are they having their cookout? I mean, there's questions here. You're making assumptions, I think, that I can't agree to or disagree with, quite frankly. I don't know if they have cookouts on their front lawn. I don't know if they, I don't know if they have them where people eat inside. I can't make that.
Someone who is walking is you deemed earlier as an average person. Someone who is bicycling is an average person. They're not going at 50 miles an hour.
Yep,
They're taking
they will
longer
see
to
it.
get through this process, and they will see that. And
That's
they are
correct.
likely, if they're on a tour, if they're riding bikes, they're coming down that route for the scenic beauty and for the environment that it is.
I don't know the reason they're there, but I mean, like I said before, I've been acquainted with wind tours. I mean, if people want to give tours of the solar array, I can't, I don't know what they're touring for, but they will see it. I mean, the point I think you're asking me is, yes, they will see the array.
And why is it that your impression, your perspective is that is acceptable to not have anything there?
Because again, solar installations throughout Vermont of this size and scope of equipment are commonplace. They're not shocking or offensive. And I think that if they're, and to minimize the impact to a butter across the street, I recommended that vegetation be proposed. Screening vegetation as well. The town asked for more vegetation and it was increased.
Do you think that the
they
town would find
well, yeah, they submitted their letter of November 10th that says that this project will meet the minimum screening requirements as set forth in Article 3, Section 323.
Okay. I lost my train of thought. Do you, in your aesthetics review of the area, recall any other solar arrays on that western side of Route 102 at any point?
Yeah, there's one. It's mentioned in my report 3 times. There is one about over a mile and what is it, a mile and a half or a mile and a quarter?
Mm-hmm.
Mile and a quarter.
Is that one on the eastern side or the western side of Route 102?
The western side.
Do you know of any other solar arrays on the eastern side of Route 102?
On the entire length of Route 102? No, I'm not, oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, there is solar installations. There's not,
Mhm.
I'm not aware of a solar array of the size of the equipment and type of this Canaan Solar 102.
Mm-hmm. Okay, bear with me. Trying to get to a page. So what I'm showing you is from the cross exhibit, chapter 1 of the land use in the new NVDA regional report. And one of the pages refers to this current land use, and it represents all of the different regions in the different towns in the region. And the legend, oh, I'm sorry, let me see if I can make that bigger for you.
Thank you.
The legend of the lime green open agricultural. Where is that represented here in the Canaan map? Where do you see that?
Yeah, along the Connecticut River.
And where does the site, proposed site, align on that map?
At this scale, I'm not sure how to.
Is it
and I'm
what
not,
north,
I don't
south,
have a
east,
pointer.
west? North, south, east, west of this triangle
Well, the project is in the southeast corner of Canaan.
in this
So
region.
Right. Well, further south, but yep, right, yeah.
Yeah. Are you seeing what I'm seeing here? That just about the entire, other than this little stretch here on the map, the entire area here is considered agricultural based on the legend?
At this scale, I see there is quite a bit of light green.
Yeah. And as I look at this map, could you confirm for me, are there any breaks at all of that agricultural lime green?
I can't
From the-
answer that at this scale. You'd have to really zoom in.
Okay, can you see that? So
Yeah,
let's
but
start here. Canaan, you want it bigger? Would you like it bigger?
I guess you better ask me the question again, because I don't think I'm going to be able to answer it at any scale, because I don't know, the parcel where the project is proposed is not identified on this map.
This map represents prime agricultural areas. And so what I'm, okay. So my question to you is, sorry, you want to say something? I want to give you the chance.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I want to understand the question.
My question to you is, in this whole array, all the way down, Leamington, Bloomfield, Brunswick, Maidstone, Guildhall, all the way to Lunenburg, that's an uninterrupted, well, let's say Guildhall, because there's a little bit of green here, uninterrupted area of agricultural, coastal, scenic byway.
No, wait, let's go down to the legend and see what that is labeled as. It's
Open
labeled as
agricultural.
open agriculture. There's no scenic, there's no whatever those other words you were that used. I will say that at this scale, covering the entire NVDA area, just Regional Planning Commission area, it appears that generally along the Connecticut River of the towns from Lunenburg up to Canaan is along the Connecticut River is open agriculture. I think
And
that's
I
what
just
you're
didn't,
get at.
sorry. I've been patient about this, but I think, and this goes to Martha and to Ms. Boschman, you both need to let the other finish before you start talking.
Okay.
Okay? You keep talking over one another, and that's going to make it really hard for the to really understand the transcript. So I would just ask both of you, let each other finish before you interrupt each other. Sorry.
Thank you.
And
No.
thank you.
Go ahead, Martha.
I think I answered it, or did.
Okay, so my next question with regards to walking through this map is, when I look at that Canaan region, where is the, do you see that the region for agriculture is all along and inclusive of where the site plan is to be?
I would not use this scale of this map to assess what the conditions are at the Canaan 102 property. Yeah.
When you drove in that area for the site visit and for the assessment visits that you were doing, in your observation, did you notice along that whole Route 102, that right side, the east side of 102, was predominantly agricultural, contiguous agricultural property?
I would not
Continuous from
call
one
it,
to the other?
I would not call it contiguous because, and that's one of the reasons why I would not use the scale of this illustration. There are a number of tributaries and streams and water courses and wetlands that feed into the Connecticut River, and along those water courses are riparian zones and vegetation, mature vegetation that break up the farmland, the farm parcels, the open parcels, let's call them, because they're not all being farmed. And there's residential properties. There is, as I've talked about in my description, it's a rural area. And I said, along the way are scattered residential and farmstead properties. Where water features do not impact the production, lands are open, supporting agricultural activities such as hay or corn. On the east side, let's see, this is specific to the project parcel, but is defined on the north and south with boundary line mature trees and shrubs, and on the east by mature trees and the riparian vegetation along the Connecticut River. So the parcels and the properties are broken up of uses and of environmental attributes.
But those environmental attributes are really kind of part of the historical nature of that landscape, right? Waterways, wetlands. And historically, the division of properties was those tree lines that you're talking about, right? That's a natural establishment of the scenic environment of that community.
I can't
Correct?
answer that. I can't answer that.
Would that not be part of the assessment that you would be articulating in what you read?
The historic use of the land?
That naturally, this topography that you're talking about, the aesthetics of that community in that roadway, those are not things that were added, built in. Those are things that have been part of the natural scenic array of that entire route.
As well as the built environment.
The built environment, I don't understand. Can you explain? The built environment.
There's
What-
barns and cemeteries and businesses and residential properties, as I described. As I tried to describe in the description of the area, that
Yeah.
there are, while it's a rural setting, there is a combination of scattered residential properties along this valley floor. The land rises to the west, and is forested, predominantly forested. But there's a mix of activity that is going on along the Route 102 corridor.
And can you
Open space. Oh, I just said open space.
So can you confirm if there are other businesses in your assessment of that area that are located on the east side of 102?
I cannot confirm that. I did not check the status of every property ownership.
Okay.
Ms. Boschman, I just want to pause really quickly. We're coming up on about an hour and a half of your cross-examination of Ms. Staskis. This hearing is going to end at 4 o'clock.
I understand.
So I want to sort of take a pulse of the group to get a sense of what we
Agreed.
have left to accomplish in the next 2 hours. And I sort of want to kind of reverse engineer it. Ms. Cadwell, I think I remember you putting out an estimate for what you think you're gonna cross-examine Ms. Boschman on. Do you have a sense of how long that's gonna take? I just want to.
I don't think I'm going to go beyond the 10 minutes. It all depends on
Okay.
how Ms. Boschman answers, but I have very limited questions for her.
All right, sounds good. So Ms. Boschman, do you have a sense of where you are in terms of your
Yeah.
questioning? Because we do need to be cognizant of time at this point.
Mm-hmm. Give me one moment, please, to see, because like I said, I've been back and forth in this report
Understood.
along the way. I want to make sure I don't think I have too much. I have a little bit, but I don't think it's an enormous amount.
Okay, so
would
here's what I
permit me.
propose to do. Let's take a quick 5-minute break. I need to get
Yes.
up and stretch. My back is getting a little sore. So how about we come back at 2 o'clock, and during that 5-minute break, if you could just sort of use that time to get yourself situated and organized, just so hopefully we can get through this home stretch of questioning with
Sure.
Ms. Daskis, that'd be great.
Thank you.
So how about at 2:02? We'll come back.
Thank you.
you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, everybody. It looks like we're all back. Ms. Boschman, if you want to continue. I will say very quickly, do you have a sense of how long this may take? Just want to start to keep track of time a little better.
I probably have 5 or 6 questions that may not
Okay.
take long,
Okay, great.
from
Thank
what I
you.
can see.
Thank you.
I will try to condense things together.
I much appreciated. Thank you.
I do not have the legalese of the connective tissues here to make things more concise, so apologize.
Understood, and you're
Um, if I'm still kind of going through I'm going to try to go back and forth on a couple of these things. So bear with me, Martha. Try to condense some things. In that town plan, I'm sorry, in your report on page 15, you talk about some of the statements that are coming from various reports and the value 15. I'm on page 15.
Martha, you're muted. No, you're actually muted. So if you start talking, we won't be able to hear you. Try to answer a question. There you go.
I know, but I'm not supposed to talk until she's. I'm
She's
trying
trying
to be
every
quiet.
way she can.
I am. Thank you, Carol.
I feel your pain because I'm just as guilty. Okay, so it's been a long day. I apologize. All right, so I found the section that you're talking about the energy chapter, and I believe that energy chapter is part of the Canaan report. And in here, you bring out a quote that I'm curious about. Right, talks about for rural areas, solar arrays offer positive co-benefits when combined with agriculture, also known as agrivoltaics. Can you talk to me about what agrivoltaics is?
Can I call you Carol?
Yes,
Can you?
please
I'm
do.
not. Where?
Oh,
Thank
am I
you.
not sharing? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah. Agrivoltaics is the combination of multiple agricultural uses, frequently done with having sheep graze underneath an array, or other animals, not cows typically, but I worked on a project where the landowner actually is planting blueberries under the array. Also pollinator, you probably have heard about pollinator friendly seed vegetation, because the array will be seeded and maintained under the panels and the rows and within the fence is what I want to say. And so agrivoltaics is referred to the combination of typical agricultural uses and combining where can be practical agricultural uses.
Okay. How does that term or that practice connect at all with aesthetics?
That's a good question. It can, I would say it can, in continuing, particularly in this case where we're trying to provide multiple land use opportunities for the farmer to continue growing corn, to if they wanted to take advantage of that would be an agreement with Norwich. I don't know what their lease agreement is, but to have an activity that would either be, like I said, having a sheep farmer come in and graze the grass that's underneath the array, or if it's simply planting pollinator friendly vegetation to help pollinate the corn, like that.
So the aesthetics, isn't that contributing to the look and the feel? So does the agrivoltaics contribute to the look and the feel of the area and the harmony that this project would bring?
Yeah, this is really, can you say that again? I just want to make sure
I'm trying to
answering your question.
understand the connection between agrivult. I hear the benefits that you describe. I'm trying to better understand. Can you tell me the direct connection of the value of agrivoltaics to the surrounding scenery and the aesthetics?
So it's, in this case, we're talking about, hold on a second. We're talking about whether it violates a clear written community standard. And so this whole section, pages 13 through 18, are citing elements in the regional town and regional plan that are addressing whether the project meets whether it violates a clear written community standard. So to your point, what I'm saying is that the town in the town plan has different goals, objectives, and actions. And in the energy chapter specifically, they're advocating for incorporating equity and justice into energy planning aspects. And so it's not really part of it's a part of the aesthetic assessment, but it's a subcategory of whether there is a violation of a clear written community standard. So if you're thinking of the word aesthetic strictly from a visibility, that's addressed in a different section.
But the term does support, I mean, you're bringing it up here to call out a point as a culminating story that the aesthetics is acceptable and it includes this agrivoltaics, correct?
Yeah, it's agrivoltaics, and if that helps. And remember, we talked about we have to sort of go back to the beginning in the sense that the aesthetic assessment is conducted applying the Queechy test, and the Queechy test has step 1 and step 2, and in step 2, it has 3 different questions that have to be addressed. And so this is the second question, addressing whether there is a clear whether it violates a clear written community standard.
Okay.
Okay. Does that?
And as a part of this whole story, it doesn't really contribute towards aesthetics overall, correct? It's part of the energy chapter that they want to support, correct? Energy, renewable energy.
Correct. They want the town is in this case. They're to me they're addressing the benefits that citing the solar array with agriculture should promote the use of agrivoltaic activities, which is demonstrating that step 2, the second question in step 2 of the Queechy analysis is demonstrating that it's not violating a clearly written community standard. Okay. And in fact, promoting.
I'm going to go to Exhibit 6, just for the reference piece here, okay? And I'll share it here. It is the letter from Lowell from the NVDA. And I'm trying to understand lower into the report in that same page. There isn't really any standard to preserve scenic beauty, does not provide standard for protection of scenic resources. Okay. But
excuse me, are you reading something on here?
Nope. I'm reading I'm reading from just the paragraph under where we just were in your report. That's all. So I'm just trying to set the stage because I am showing this letter from Vermont because the same section of the report is referenced in the town plan here, right? about what is defined as preferred locations for solar development. And can you tell me if any one of these hits the mark for the proposed location that we're talking about?
This is a letter to a different project.
But I'm not talking about the letter. I am talking about here, as I present in my testimony. I'm referring to the letter because it refers to a specific set of locations, which is
Okay.
part of the reference that is called out in the town plan. So for simplicity's
Right.
sake, the definition here is clearly called out. And I'm asking you, does the property that we're talking about hit any of the marks here at all?
Not those. That the regional plan has, it's called NEK siting guidelines, where it talks about constraints, known constraints, possible constraints, and regional
Yep.
constraints.
Yep. But alongside that, I believe this is part of their, as they're saying, clearly defines preferred locations as stated as stated as followed, or stated as followed. These are the characteristics that qualify as a preferred site location at the NVDA regional plans recommendation, correct?
That's what that says.
Okay. And you are confirming that the property we're talking about does not meet anyone. The closest one to me is this. And 50% or more of the power is not going to be used by the farm, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Can I add to this? So
I think that's okay. I mean, I think I'm good with my question.
Okay.
Um, and then bear with me. This is an excerpt from the town plan. Shoot, sorry. Let me watch your eyes, everybody, for a second. Town plan exhibit 4. And I wanted to come to this section. Can you read that highlighted area? Are you able? Oh, let me get bigger.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Because NVDA's region already generates a disproportionate share of renewables related to our low population, the Northeast Kingdom is well on track for its contributions to the 2050 targets for renewable generation based on our population and energy resource potential.
Okay. And as you see, it goes back down and talks about the New England NEK policy and Plan 17, which is the region and the area for the information we were just looking at in that letter for
Well, that's
right
the siting.
qualification.
Right, that's the siting guidelines, which is different, and it talks about the known constraints, possible constraints, and regional constraints.
Mm-hmm. I think one or two more and I'm done. When we go back to that plan, the site plan, you were calling out, right, that this area down here, that's the tree line that separates the blue house from the field, right here.
Yep, yes.
And you said that that was sufficient. Do you recall walking on the site visit? how much you saw? Did you see anything? You know, what was your impression of the screening there on that date in May?
Uh, uh, that it's there. I think you
How
can
much of
see,
that? Yeah.
you can see, I've included images in my report that demonstrate the property line mature vegetation. There's several images and a map view that shows the vegetation.
And you also talked about, I think in your report, that the crop season would be sufficient to help also with the screenage. Is that correct?
Yeah, you asked me about the summer season. It's not, the crop would be sufficient for, I said that it would
Screenage.
add. Yeah, it would add during certain times of the year, it will add, and that's in my report, additional screening.
How long is the summer season in Vermont?
Summer months.
Summerless, right? How long does it take? How long do we have crops up? And what is
Well,
their average
the
height?
crop, the seeds is in the ground now, and so our site visit was in May, and the crop will be there into September, late September.
But it has to
They'll
grow to get to maturity height.
Well, I'm just saying that's
is
the growing
September.
season. That's the
Right,
growing
so
season.
so it's not until really September that that height is there. Correct?
No, I mean, I buy my corn in July and August along the Connecticut River, so it's the best corn.
Uh-huh. Okay. And so what is your impression if there is a summerless summer and only a few weeks of the growth season that would actually protect from the scenery for the other 10 months of the year?
Yeah, I included my statement about the corn as being an additional mitigating element for the screening. It's not the screening. It's not the screening mitigation. It is a seasonal additional screening.
But in fact, that means there is no screening the rest of the year for that length of the field, correct?
Well, the property line screening, the mature vegetation along the property lines.
And for Route 102?
The screening, the eastern red cedar and the gray dogwoods are on the eastern side of Route 102 and up on the north and around the corner of the access drive.
Right. But there's a good amount of that. I'd say from when I look at that picture, 2/3 of the line abutting 102 has no screening, correct?
I'm going to object. We've been over this. Martha has already explained that there is going to be no additional screening along that's the southern side.
Okay.
Can we please move on and explore things that haven't been addressed?
Ms. Boschman, do you have a question that's sort of separate and apart from what you've asked before? I tend to agree.
That's okay. I think where I'm going is a true objective opinion is purely her opinion around what is seen as screenage versus not needed screening is where I was going.
And I understand
I can walk away.
And the issue is what questions do you need to ask Ms. Teskis to
That's okay.
tease that out?
That's okay. I will hear what Attorney Caldwell had said. And if we were discussing the state of Vermont and the comparisons of scenic views, right? You mentioned 3 times the gravel pit, the one in Leamington down the road. How does this particular one align or not to the gravel pit location?
So I refer to the Leamington solar array for its type and size of equipment. So it is a fixed mount, low profile solar array. It has access. It's tied into the close proximity, I'll say close proximity to the three-phase VEC line. I did not include it in the visual element of the visual component of the project assessment of the Queechy analysis. I approved it as I included it as reference to the size and type of equipment that's installed.
But it is in a gravel pit and it is secluded, correct?
I didn't go in there. I just know what it's filed as at the Public Utility Commission.
Okay. And I will be done in 2 minutes, if you're looking for timing. If this opens. So I did take the time to look at and drive by. These photos were taken the week or so that the actual exhibit was submitted. It's in that same time frame. And this is a picture from the street, the aligning the east side of Route 102. What do you see there in terms of the landscape? Oh, let me see if I can help here.
So I'm going to object to this line of questioning. Ms. Boschman's photographs have been ruled admissible. Ms. Daskis just testified that she based the information in her report on a filing with the Public Utility Commission and did not actually visit the site. And so I think it's objectionable to have Ms. Daskis provide opinions based on pictures she did not take at a place that she did not visit. The sighting of that other array really is not relevant to the factors of the Queechy test for this array.
And Ms. Bushman, I'm a little unclear about what the actual specific question is that you're posing right now.
So what I'm asking is her professional opinion as a reviewer of aesthetics to determine the layout in here at the gravel pit compared to what is approved in her perspective, in her opinion, as aesthetically pleasing to the community where the proposed site is going to be.
Yeah, I'm going to sustain Ms. Cadwell's objection to this line of questioning. It's not relevant to the report that she has sponsored and the aesthetic analysis that she has provided with respect to this facility.
Okay. You'll be happy to hear I'm done. For time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Mr. Swain, do you have any questions for Ms. Daskis?
I do not, thank you.
Ms. Daskis, I just have a handful of questions. I will hopefully be brief. I just wanted to, hold on, I will pull up your report very quickly. computer did something funky. Can you see that, Ms. Staskis?
Yeah,
I'm
yes.
showing you petition MS, exhibit petition MS2, the revised version. I just have some questions with respect to what I'll call sort of your view set analysis section, starting on page 6 of the report. And in that section, from pages 6, 7, 8, I think in that area, you show a number of images from different vantage points. My question is are you familiar with a property that abuts the host property, the host parcel directly to the south of that parcel? Is that
Where the blue structures are?
it's a residential property that abuts directly to the south. I can show you on, hold on, let me find the.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the blue structure, and they have a significant barn garage.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and in between that parcel, there's the line of established vegetation that we've spoken about.
Okay. Yep.
My question is very simple. Did you conduct a sort of a view shed analysis from that property specifically?
Not from the residential structure itself. I did it encompassing, so the view shed starts with the array and then looks out at where it could potentially be visible based upon no vegetation, like clear land.
Mhm.
So yes, in that sense, that's the view shed analysis I ran.
Okay, and so I'll just ask the question. I think you've kind of answered it already, but specifically, why didn't you conduct a view shed analysis from that specific residence to the south?
Because it's private property.
Okay, it's fine. Um,
Can I add to that?
please.
I think it's I'm going to get in trouble with council here, but that the picture that Carol showed before, I think is actually informative from, if you consider the concept of existing mature vegetation. That picture that she showed was in the winter time or pre-leaf off conditions. And I think that it's important to appreciate what the stems of mature existing vegetation along these property lines, defining the different property ownerships and functions, serves year round. So even in the winter, while the vegetation does not have leaves on it, it still does show that there is an opportunity for screening based upon leaf off conditions.
Thank you. Turning to page 13 and 14 of your report, I'm showing it here. There's a discussion about this Canaan solar screening standards, and as you can see, they're in front of you now. My question is did you take the solar screening standards into account when conducting your aesthetic analysis here?
Yes, the screening analysis specifically says the screening shall obscure. It does not say it will block or, hide, but rather obscure the ground mounted array.
Thank you. And that's actually the note of my question, which is how do you interpret the word obscure or define obscure in relationship to this facility?
So Webster defines it as not clearly seen.
Are there any sort of industry recognized criteria or tests that you might use to determine whether or not it meets the definition of obscured?
Say the first part of that question again. Are there any what?
Are there any sort of criteria or methodologies, industry recognized methodologies that one might use to determine whether or not something is obscured?
Is there any? I can tell you what over my decades of experience, I have worked on projects to break up the view, to not necessarily hide the array, but to either make it a filtered view or not, or obscured.
All right, thank you. On page 14 of your report, you speak to what the landowner intends to continue their farming of corn production, which will further limit the views of the array, particularly to the south. This is just some contextual questions, which is, can you tell me, generally speaking, based on your experience and your understanding of this project, how high the bottom of the panels will be off of the ground?
I would have to defer to Mr. Martin, but I know that typically panels are approximately 2 to 3 feet, depending on the site. If it's a heavy snow site, you know, they want to keep the snow not from building up on the array. And then the panels are at an angle.
Right.
Third, okay.
And so how high would you expect those panels to be at a facility like this?
Maybe up to 15 feet.
Okay.
15 plus or minus.
Thank you. And then finally, with respect, do you have when making the statement about having corn obscuring the, I'm sorry, you might not have used that word, but the idea that the corn would help to obscure the facility, do you have a sense of how high you would expect the corn to be, you know, at maximum height?
Yeah, like 8 to 10 feet.
Okay, thank you. One last question for you, which is, it got me thinking during Mr. Martin's testimony. And I'm sorry, let me see if I could find this really quickly. Bear with me. I'm sorry, well, actually, I might not need to. So I want to refer to you to the revised site plan with the Mr. Martin sponsored. I think it's exhibit 2 of his. The revised site plan reflects some changes that were made to the site plan based on interactions with some of the commenters, is my understanding. In part, am I correct in understanding that part of those changes were some additional plantings that were placed at the facility?
I understood. I don't think I can answer that. I understood the revision was based upon AFAM's request to move the prime ag stockpile.
Okay, I knew that part, but it was unclear to me whether or not there was some additional screening that was planted from that.
I'm not sure when that got added in what they submitted. What did, I think they were
Hold on,
there.
I can pull this up. I apologize.
I can answer that question. If you're just looking for timing.
Please do. I'm trying to get a sense of.
45-day, yeah, 45-day notice. There was feedback from the town, feedback from neighbors, and the filing itself included additional plantings when the application was filed.
Yeah.
So the revised version that was filed in February only doesn't reflect additional plantings. It just reflects the change in the drive. Right.
Correct. The additional plantings were from the 45-day notice to the application,
right.
and then AFAM commented on the application, and then the stockpile was moved inside the fence.
Thank you. That helps me out. I remember that jogs my memory. Thank you. That was a lovely question. So
wait, the driveway was moved before the filing? But I heard
Wait.
Mr. Kosiski say the move of the driveway, and that's not in the February filing. It was already moved.
Correct. And that's in Jeff Martin's testimony.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry, so very quickly, what changes are reflected in the February
Right.
site plan relative to the initial one that was filed in December?
The move of the prime egg stockpile.
Thank you, okay,
Yeah.
this all rings a bell now.
Okay.
I just was trying to get this straight in my head. I appreciate that.
No worries.
And I,
And if you need Mr. Martin to provide testimony under oath to that, you can. It is in his testimony.
no, my notes were just wrong on this, and you helped me straighten that out, so I appreciate it. That's all I have for questions, Ms. Taskus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Cadwell, do you have any redirect?
I do. I have a few questions, and I'm going to go sort of back in time. I apologize, Martha. But do you recall Ms. Boscheman asking you about your experience, your background?
Yes.
Could you please explain what experience you have doing landscaping or landscape planning, aesthetics, and your work with planning commissions and select boards?
Well, my working, I've served on the Waterbury Planning Commission for a number of 8 years, and the last 3 as chair. I'm now, I won't comment, chair of the select board in Waterbury. And in those roles, we have in Waterbury received proposals for solar arrays, 45-day notices, and the response to that. My background in landscaping is my environmental degree at the University of Vermont was a self-design major in land.
Starlink.
Is it just her? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just her.
Let's give Martha a minute to see if she can join us in a minute. We were so close.
I know. We had no technical difficulties. If I'm not opposed to doing redirect. I know she's got to leave at 3:30 or before. Hopefully she'll come in, but I'm happy to do, if it takes a lot longer, do Carol and then see if we can follow up with Martha. But because I do have some clarifying questions I want to ask Martha.
Let's give it just a couple of minutes, and then I think if she's not back on by say 2:45, we'll move over to.
Okay. It's the worst when it fails. I once was, had to start a hearing, and all of a sudden my PC decided to reboot. It updated and rebooted. And there I went, disappeared. Panic striking. She just texted me that she's trying to reconnect.
When we work like this remote, since lockdown, I've been in remote. And so when it constantly goes in and out on hold, you lose so much for the conversation, and then try to come in without disrupting the conversation, but you can't help it. You've got to go backwards and start again. It's tough.
It is tough. I agree.
At least technical issues. I live close to the campus, so I can go and say, here, IT, fix it. But my entire team are spread out across the country, and they don't have that kind of a luxury. I couldn't do it. I'd have such a hard time.
Yeah, I am my own IT person. I once was troubleshooting something, and the person said, "Well, if we can't get you, then get me in touch with your IT person." I was like, "Look, I'm the IT person. I'm the janitor. I am the jack of all
This is it.
trades here. So if you can't help me, I'm done." And I'm an excellent janitor, by the way.
My daughter's buying a house. She's signing next week. You wanted a side job to come clean the house? If you're that
But congratulations on your daughter. That's really awesome. You must be a proud mama.
Yes, I am. And here she is.
She's almost here.
Yeah, sorry. I'm afraid if I turn my camera on, I'm gonna get dropped again.
Yeah, understood. We'll just, we'll let you be voice only.
I
Okay.
was trying to call in. That was risky.
So
Sorry
Martha,
about that.
when you went away, when you were so rudely interrupted, you were talking about your education in landscape architecture, I think, or landscape.
Wow. Okay, you lost me. Good. I attended the University of Vermont and had a self-designed major in environmental studies with a concentration in landscape architecture, and then went to the University of Pennsylvania for a year in the landscape architecture master's program, and strongly disliked Philadelphia, and so I left. And then I said, did you hear the part about the select board and the planning commission?
Yes. And then my
Okay.
last piece was about your experience doing an aesthetics analyses.
Oh, I've done aesthetic analysis. I've filed aesthetic analysis for, oh my gosh, probably for the last 8 years, probably couple of dozen reports on solar analysis, on solar proposals.
And I want to direct your attention to the hearing officer's question about doing a view shed from the property to the south, what you call the gray buildings. Do you recall that?
Blue. They're blue
buildings. I'm sorry, blue buildings. Actually, you did say blue.
Okay.
And you said that you didn't do a view shed, but did you take into consideration the views from that property when analyzing the project's aesthetic impact under the Queechy test?
Yes. Yes, and as I was discussing earlier, what I took into consideration is the fact that the existing vegetation in the wintertime, as I was commenting on the picture that was shown before of the project to the south, the existing vegetation year-round provides different kinds of screening. And so in leaf-off conditions, the stems, similar to the galvanized metal posts of the array, provide diffusing vision of the array, particularly from the boundary line from the north, and as well from the more distant views from the properties to the south.
Thank you. And I'm going to show you a portion of your report. Are you seeing what I'm showing on the screen?
Yes, what page is that?
That is page 18.
Yep, yes, I
I'm-
see it.
And I want to call your attention to the step 2 about the generally available mitigating steps. Would you agree that this step does not require the project to be completely harmonized, but does require steps to improve the project's harmony?
Yes. Yes. And I think it's important in that consideration. I'd just like to say that, you know, the low profile of the array, one thing that I don't think has been mentioned here is the orientation of the array. So the array is from perpendicular to the road. It's designed to have the panels face south. And again, which is one of the reasons I recommended the gray dogwood, is for the stems of the vegetation to be comparable or consistent with the galvanized metal dull gray posts of the array that are of the 7 rows that face the perpendicular to the highway.
Okay, and finally, just turning attention to the conversation or the back and forth that you had with the hearing officer about how you would define obscure. Does the town's ordinance require, when it uses the term obscure, does it require it to be hidden, the array?
It does not require for the array to be hidden.
And it's your understanding that that when the town issued its preferred site letter, it had the opportunity to review the 45-day notice and the site plan that was provided with it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I have nothing else. Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
I apologize for the disruption of my service here.
It's quite all right. It's quite all right. Hopefully we're almost done. Ms. Bojaman, do you have any
Careful
follow-up?
what you ask for. No, I'm teasing. For the seriousness of this conversation, I do have a couple questions. So when we talked about the trees, I know I asked this at the site visit. Can you please talk to the timing of the growth of these trees?
Sure. The gray dogwood is a multi-stemmed rhizome tree that will grow to approximately 25 feet. Because it's a rhizome type species, it will spread to approximately 10 to more 15 feet of diameter. The growth rate for it is approximately 1 plus or minus foot per year, depending upon the growing conditions. One of the reasons I selected it is because it's a very hardy zone 3 shrub tree, and Canaan is in zone 4. The eastern red cedar has a growth rate of about 2 plus or minus feet per year, up to about 40 feet. And its spread can be 8 to 15 feet in diameter or more. And it is a zone 2 species. Does that help?
Yeah, I was questioning more about the growth span because those plantings would be directly in front of our property. And the length of this contract, should it go forward, I think is 20 years, or is it 25? At the rate of a foot a year, and the height of these arrays coming up to 15, is it safe to assume that we won't reach anywhere near any obscurity of these tilted arrays or panels until and quite a number of years into their planting if they take hold?
Well, the project will be required to monitor the vegetation, so they will have to replace them if they don't take hold, first of all. And yes, the growth rate, as I said, is a couple of feet per year for the cedars, and a foot a year for the dogwood.
So it's pretty realistic to say, confirm for me, for a woman of 87 years, that for the duration, the remainder of her life, there will be no obscurity with the growth rate that you're describing.
I think
Correct?
there will be. Well, I don't know how long I don't know her
Yeah.
life
Yep.
health condition. I can't address it with respect to her. But I do think that the vegetation will obscure the project over its life.
And the same for the corn, comes up to, you said about 8 feet, and the height is 15.
15. Yep.
So anything that we're proposing is all long-term that would obscure the view of this project. It would take quite some time, correct, before there's true obscurity of this project.
The additional mitigating vegetation is there's also existing vegetation on the property lines north and south that is already there, mature, like 40 to 60 feet tall.
But with respect to the most impacted household, 195 feet directly across, it will take some time
Correct.
before any obscurity is going to be obscure.
Well,
Yes.
the plantings that are proposed are to be initially 7 feet tall. So from the ground up to 7 feet, that's half the distance, almost half the distance of if the array is 15 feet maximum, that's almost half the distance, 7 feet, 15 feet.
And that leads me, thank you, to my last question, I think here. Mr. Kisicki referenced snow and asked about the snowfall, and you, I think, were referencing that the panels can't be touching the snowfall.
Well,
or
they
the snow.
could. I mean, that's a question for Norwich Technologies, but my experience is that the panels are typically installed approximately 3 feet off the ground to accommodate snow sliding off the panels in the winter. Depends if it's a very snowy winter or not. So they're trying to keep the ground clearance adequate.
So I don't know if you're able, based on what you just said, if you're able to answer this question. What I'm trying to understand is there any study that has been done around assessing what the average snowfall is on that field to determine where and how the actual posting of those panels would be to mitigate this, assure that there's that proper sliding of snow without impacting or hurting the array, the panels?
Well, there's a couple of things that I think I could help you with. Again, when I was at Norwich Technologies, there is a research and development arm that actually has patents for what's called snow shedder. So it's an implementation. I'm not a scientist. I mean, I'm not the engineer, but it's a technology that is deployed at the solar array, at the solar panels to help shed the snow. The other thing is that the engineers will look at NOAA data, National Oceanography, I can't say the word. Weather data that is collected primarily at, now I'm speaking more from my wind experience, to be honest here, but the Weather Service, National Weather Service collects long-term weather data typically at airports and higher elevation locations that they have access to. And so the engineering department will take that information into the modeling for designing the array in terms of the strength of the posts, the angle of the panels, the equipment that's required to make sure it's a safe and secure operation.
Thank you. And so we're not confident, and you may not be able to answer this question, I understand, that it will typically be 15. It is possible, as if this thing moves forward, more planning, assessment moves along, that the 15 feet might be 16 feet, might be 17 feet, based on the assessment, the research on the snowfall capacity on that field. Is that correct?
Well, I guess my answer to that would be that, again, my experience, I can't speak for Norwich at the moment, but my experience is that because these projects take a long time to get through the regulatory, assessment and regulatory process, technology does change over time. And so the equipment that is installed at the time will meet the requirements of the public, in this case, the public utility order, certificate of public good and order. The equipment that will be installed will be in compliance with the Public Utility Commission Certificate of Public Good and Order.
At the time it was submitted, so from December of 2025.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, their order,
Okay.
what their order says is what the installers have to install.
Okay. Thanks.
So, Mr. Hearing Officer, I did miss one question that I had to ask Ms. Daskus because my handwriting is really bad, and I just asked if I could go back and ask her one more redirect.
You may.
I assume Ms. Boschman was done. Okay. Sorry about that, Martha. Do you recall the back and forth with Ms. Boschman about the NVDA preferred location and solar siting standards that you had a little while ago?
For the Lowell project.
Correct. Do you recall that? Okay.
Yes.
Can you please explain how the preferred locations and the solar siting standards relate with respect to the NVDA's analysis of preferred site locations under Rule 5.100?
Yes. So that letter lists the quote unquote statewide preferred locations. And the Lowell project is a different scale project. It's not a net metering project. And so, I mean, that letter also references exporting the energy and references a regional grid context. NVDA's first comments also stated that they encourage the exploration of dual use or co-location approaches such as agrivoltaics or pollinator-friendly plantings. Again, this is a net meter project, and NVDA's comments for this project cite specifically to the NEK siting guidelines for renewable energy. As we talked about, the town plan also references those. What's important is NVDA identifies the statewide preferred sites in its plan, and those are similar to what are in Rule 5.103, which is the definition for preferred sites, which in this case, 5.103 also includes definitions that are specific. There are 9 criteria that define preferred sites. And in this case, this project includes the identification of a specific location determined by the planning commissions, regional and local, and the select board as suitable for development of a net metering system. And they made that decision, all three entities made that decision after the 45-day notice was issued. So they've had a chance to review the proposal. Oh, I do have one other comment. And the NVDA also recognizes that successful integration of solar into active agriculture uses can help farms reduce their expenses, can generate extra income, and are viable, and remain viable. Did you lose me? No.
Thank
you
you.
hear me?
That's all I have. Yes.
Okay.
I had
So
myself
nervous.
muted.
Thank you. And Ms. Bushman, I'll give you one last chance if you have any follow-up with respect to that specific response
Yep.
that Ms. Daskus just gave.
So the last statements that you read around the solar benefits, the farming benefits, that does not align, or does that does not directly touch upon aesthetics, the area overall, correct?
That's correct.
speak-
We were talking about preferred sites. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like there are no more questions from Ms. Daskus. Thank you very much, Ms. Daskus. You're released, and hopefully you have enough time to get to your next commitment. It seems like a full day for you, so.
We're trying to hire a town manager. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Martha.
Does this group need a quick break before we move to Ms. Boschman's cross-examination, or should we
It's really up to
forge
Ms.
ahead?
Boschman. It's really up to Ms. Boschman.
If you give me 2 minutes, that would be great.
Happy to
Yeah,
give you 2 minutes. Let's do this.
Thank you.
I'll give you 5.
5.
Let's
That's
get
what I was
back
gonna say.
at,
Let's do 5.
Yeah, it's
Great.
Thank
let's get back
you.
at 3:10.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, it looks like we're all back. Next will be Ms. Boscheman. Let me swear you in very quickly and then will be made available for cross-examination. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Great. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Ms.
Great.
Cadwell.
All right. So Ms. Boscheman, I want to turn to your testimony dated May 4th, which I have on the screen. Can you see that adequately?
I can.
Okay, great. And on pages 1 to, let's see, I think pages 1, no, wait, pages 1, this is the first page here.
Cover page. Mhm.
Yep, the cover page, page 1 here, and then page 2 right here, and then page 10. Let me just scroll down to page 10. Sorry if I'm making, anybody gets queasy with the fast scroll. Page 10, you refer to an advance notice and case number 252635, correct?
That's what's written on the page.
And that's the case number that EPUC gave to the 45-day notice that you received with respect to the 500 kilowatt solar project at issue in this proceeding, correct?
I believe so.
And let's see. Oops, that's not it. I think I have to stop sharing and share something different. Let's see. That's 3. Hang on. Okay. All right. Showing you what's been marked as exhibitor petitioner cross 1. Do you agree that this is a copy of the 45-day notice that you received with respect to the project at issue here? And I'm happy to scroll through.
You can scroll through. I believe that went to my mother's residence. This was the notification I think that we would have received, or she would have received, that was it
Right here.
in the same time frame as the town meeting?
Right. So this is the 45-day notice. It's dated October 24th, 2025, correct?
That's what it says, October 25. Yep.
Okay. And I'd like to move for the admission of petitioner cross 1.
Any objections to its admission? Ms. Boscheman?
Sure. I don't object.
Okay. Mr. Swain?
No objections here.
The cross exhibit is admitted.
Okay. Thank you. And I think, let's see, on November 10th, 2025, you attended a Canaan Select Board meeting by Zoom where Jeff Martin presented the 500 kilowatt project. Isn't that right?
I did.
And at that meeting, the Select Board voted to designate the location of the 500 kilowatt project as a preferred site at that meeting, correct?
We were not present. We were excused before that occurred. So it may be reflected in the minutes, but we were not present to see or hear that.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm showing you what's been marked as exhibit petitioner cross 2. And this is the Select Board meeting minutes of November 10th.
Okay.
correct? And okay. And in new business, would you agree? Want to refer you to this paragraph here. Would you agree that this reflects a vote from the select board to approve the project location as a preferred site?
I'd like to see the whole document if you bear with me for a moment,
Okay.
rather than just the,
Happy
so it was cross.
to do that. You just let me know when you want me to scroll.
Cross, I can pull it up. It's cross number 2, you said? Yeah. Bear with me. Okay, you are down to section new business, is that correct? And you're pointing me to part D? I'm reading it to myself if you're curious. I see the words there. I was not present at that part of the meeting, nor were the rest of us.
I think you might be, if you're speaking, I can't hear you.
I am speaking. You can't hear me?
Am I the only one?
Can you hear me?
I can hear her.
I
okay.
can hear her. Ms. Campbell, can you hear me?
Uh-oh, I think it must be me. I can't hear anybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Technical difficulties. Try that.
Hello?
Oh, there
Can
we
you hear-
go. Yes,
Okay.
I must have pressed a button by accident and I apologize. I am
Okay.
not as adept at Teams as you are, Carol.
It's all good. It's all good.
So you want me to scroll?
I have the document up as well on my other screen, but you certainly can scroll if you'd like.
Oh, okay.
You're
So I'm happy
pointing
to have
me-
you read the document.
I'm here. Where do you want me to
okay.
go?
So I want you to go down to new business, letter D.
Yes.
And you agree that after reviewing letter D, that the Canaan Select Board voted to agree to designate the site as a preferred site under Public Utility Commission Rules
Ms. Campbell, can I
5.103.
back up real quick? This exhibit hasn't been admitted into evidence at this point. It feels like
Correct. Correct.
Is this a foundational question?
Correct.
Okay.
So can I ask the question of why are we discussing this document if it's not entered in, even as a foundation, that's permitted?
Yep.
Okay. I am reading the words. I can confirm the words on that page, but I'm also telling you I was not present at that part of the meeting. That's the part you didn't hear when I was saying it earlier.
Okay.
None of us were. We were excused after the presentation, and the town meeting went on from there.
Okay. Now, turning to your testimony of May 7th. And page, why does it keep doing that? Page 2, line 1 to 2 here. Where you state the 2017 Canaan Municipal Plan was active when the solar project was proposed to abutters in September and October 2024. You see that?
I see that. Yes.
Okay. And when you say that it was proposed to abutters, you mean that it was proposed in a 45-day advance notice that the abutters received?
No, what I'm referring to is the larger, as you all are calling it, as a separate project, was the communication and the conversations in 2024. Was the same owners, the same property, and the same solar company. So that's what I'm referring to as the continuum of that intent and interest of having some form of solar array at that property.
But isn't it true that you received a 45-day notice with respect to that 3 megawatt larger project?
We did.
And so to be clear, the project that was proposed to abutters in September and October 2024, when the Canaan Town Plan 2017 plan was in effect, was the 3 megawatt project, not the project that was the subject of this hearing.
As I said just a couple minutes ago, that was the beginning of the same company, the same parcel of land, and the same landowners. So I'm correlating it to the same adventure and interest. The size did change, yes.
Okay.
In our eyes, 52 acres, 1 acre, it's the same thing. It's a difference to the property.
And I'm showing you what's been marked as petitioner cross 3. This is a 45-day notice dated September 18th, 2024. You agree with that?
Trying to open it up here on my other screen. Advance notice, okay.
You agree that this is an advance notice for the 3 megawatt project?
Yes, that's what it's headed as in the RE, correct.
And the notice was sent to you, to your mom, and to your brother at the address in, along Route 102 in Canaan, correct?
It was sent to my mother's residence, yes.
Okay. And isn't it true that the 2017 Canaan plan was in effect at that time when the 45-day notice in September 2024 was issued? The 2017?
2017. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when the 500 kilowatt project that's the subject of this hearing was proposed to abutters, through that 45-day notice, the 2025 Canaan Town Plan was in effect, not the 2017 Town Plan, correct?
And as I referred to earlier in the questions that I had asked, my connection to the 2017 plan was in respect to the 2017 town zoning laws and the connection to the entire adventure that we began with this company and these landowners with an intent to bring in a solar array on that property. That is the triangulation that I was doing, that I was demonstrating.
And Ms. Boschman, where do you reside?
I reside in New Hampshire.
Okay, thanks. I have nothing else.
Mr. Swain,
I don't have any questions.
thank you. Ms. Bojaman, I do not have any further questions for you either. So very short cross-examination.
Can I add a comment here respecting the where do I live? I may live in New Hampshire, but the property is mine and my brother's. So whether I live in New Hampshire or in Vermont, I don't know if that makes any difference whatsoever. It's still an interest of mine. It's my home property.
Okay,
You wouldn't be
understood.
an adjoining landowner if you didn't have title to the property, so no worries.
All right, Ms. Bojaman, thank you. You're released. And with that, I think we are done with all of our witnesses for today's hearing. just want to confirm with all of the stipulated evidence is in the record, as well as petitioner cross one. I don't think there's any other cross exhibits that have been admitted. So that's what my notes reflect. And just to confirm with folks, our briefing schedule is set. Initial briefs are due July 9th, and reply briefs are due July 24th. Is that consistent with everybody's understanding? I just want to make sure that we have the schedule down pat and everybody knows the deadlines.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it on my end. If there's any other procedural issues that anybody wants to discuss before we adjourn, we can.
I do, just in terms of, will it pop up in, I don't know, I guess my work teams, whatever teams, the recording? Can you remind me again about the access of the transcript and we're going to have it sent to us? I think Leslie,
normally under the normal process would be is that a party that wants a copy of the video and or the AI generated transcript would contact the clerk's office. But in this instance, all the parties asked for it in advance. I will go to the clerk's office. We will make sure that that is sent to you via whatever the contact information that you have in EPUC. So,
okay, so it would be a link via an email, it sounds like.
It will be, yeah, and most likely it'll be an email sent from the clerk's office. So to whatever email you have in the EPUC system.
I was going to say, so it would be a public accessible, not just for myself and for the two attorneys here. Anyone would see it in the EPOC folders?
No, it's not going to be posted to EPUC. It'll be sent to you separately in your own email. It's a publicly available document, but it'll be sent to you specifically to your inbox.
Okay, I'm just trying to realize where is it coming from, or will it go in my spam box? Comcast email is not the best. So
I can't tell you whether or not it'll go in your spam inbox. But
from whom is it coming from? The state of Vermont?
It will come from the PUC clerk's office.
And Carol, when I get it, I will confirm that you've received it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'll send you a confirming email. Yeah, that's not a problem. So we're all on the same page and we can keep things moving along.
Great, thank you.
And,
sure thing.
And if I may, just at a very closing note, I just want to say, Ms. Boscherman, I just want to say, I know it's been a long day for you today. It's been a lot of questions, and I'm sure that this is not what you necessarily want to be doing on a beautiful day such as today, but I just want to say you handled yourself commendably today. I just want to say I really appreciate the thoughtfulness and the coherence and the structure and that you put forward and making the presentation today. It's been really helpful to have that line of questioning as we move forward in reviewing this application. So I just want to say thank you for your time, and certainly thank you for your effort. Again, you did quite commendably, especially since this is your first time in this process. So
thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
Well, what about me?
Ms. Cadwell, as always, quite
so
committed.
How long of a process? What is an assumed timeline? Is it appropriate to ask that question here at this time?
I can tell you as soon as I get the briefing from the parties in the reply briefing, I'll be during that time I'll be drafting up a proposal for decision. It'll be finalized hopefully within a few weeks after I get receipt of the reply briefing, and then what will happen is I will issue that proposal for decision out for comments from the parties. That'll come as an EPUC filing, so that'll come probably within a month after the filings are due, after all the briefing is in. And then once that happens, we'll have an opportunity to comment on the proposal for decision. At that point, once those comments come in, I take that proposal for decision and whatever comments I receive from the parties, and that gets forwarded to the commissioners themselves, and then they will have they will form up their final order and a certificate of public good if they approve the project.
And so I'm the only one that is engaged, even when it files itself in the public folder at that point. It's only myself and no other from the public that can respond to put comments in. It's just me as the party, correct?
No, anybody can, I mean, any party can file comments in EPUC. If you are a party that is in the system, you can make filings in the case. And so.
Right, so there's public comment. And so all of
But-
these other people that did not, I'm the only one that designated myself as a party. These
Right, you're
other
the only
public
one that has party status as opposed to just a member of the public that's filing comments.
Okay. I'm just wondering if other people see this in the public space, in the EPOC folder, the result of your recommendation, if they also, beyond me as a party, do they have an opportunity to see that then and offer comments, public comments, or is that gone? Is that the comments only were in the first 40 days or so for public?
That is actually a good question. I've never been posed that question. I want to be careful about this. My instinct
I
is to
can say
say
something.
that is not the case.
Okay.
Is that public commenters cannot respond to the PVD, but I would have to look at the statutory
I'm just
scheme
curious.
to make sure of that. I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to that question. I've never thought about it that way before. But I would have to go and check.
So from my perspective, at least as I understand it, people can file comments in the public comment section of the EPUC anytime. So your neighbors and that, if they want to file those comments, the question is whether, and how much those comments get considered by the commission in its final order. But
Okay.
but they absolutely, the public comment function doesn't shut
Exists.
off.
Okay.
Right. It's just a matter of what the commission can do with them afterwards.
Right, it
So-
is a question of whether or not under the statutory scheme, I'm required to forward those public comments specifically in response to the proposal for decision, if those go to the commissioners beyond what is filed by the parties. And I just don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head.
Okay.
So.
Great. Thank you for your clarity.
Great question.
Yeah, it is. I was like, that
Great
is a really
question.
good question because I've never had that question come up in any of my cases before. So.
Yeah, I very much appreciate all your patience with me in this new rodeo.
You did a great job.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did a wonderful job. So, unless there's anything else people want to discuss, we will adjourn this hearing.
Enjoy the weather. Thank you.
Thanks.
You as
Thanks,
well.
everybody.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone.
we're gonna
Ciao.
get some sun. Thank you.
Yeah.